An interesting costume idea for you for the future. If you're one to celebrate Halloween, dress up like a 20-sided prism and make it silver, and you can be, this is my Star Trek costume. What are you? I'm Glumpus. From that one episode of Lower Decks that decidedly was not a Halloween episode. There's something on the ship that's draining the ship's energy. Please advise. You want to give it more energy? Yeah, I actually am giving it all she's got, Captain. Obviously that didn't work. Welcome to the best exotic nanite hotel. What the heck is an exotic nanite hotel? We're about to find out. Exotic could mean on vacation, or exotic could mean something we don't understand. This nanite colony, evidently, is something we don't understand because we're trying to capture it and study it. It's nanites, but we want to capture it humanely? I thought they were robots. Maybe they're alien robots, and we don't want to kill them. Who built these? These questions are never answered. We're after a nanite colony in this episode, after all. I wish they were answered, because what this is setting up is much more interesting than what we got. This is Lower Decks. This is the third episode of the fifth season, of which is evidently the final season of Lower Decks. Episode 3. We had the first two episodes, which were kind of like a, as I said before, a 1.5-parter. But here's a nice standalone episode for you. Maybe I spoke too soon. Maybe it's not that nice. Let's see what's going on with the best exotic nanite hotel. We're going to the Cosmic Duchess, which is described in dialogue in the captain's log as a cruise ship. Interesting idea to have a cruise ship in space, and this is not the first time we went to areas like this in Lower Decks, nor Star Trek as a whole. This is Risa, but not Risa. We wanted to have Risa, but didn't feel like doing it again. So instead of going to a pleasure planet, we went to a pleasure ship. They call it a cruise ship. It's in space. Do you necessarily have to have faster than light travel to get to it? If that's the case, and all the ships here are faster than light, do we need it to be a cruise ship? Couldn't it just be a moon? It's kind of a strange question. I guess if I'm honest, I like the idea of a cruise ship too, and I probably would have wrote it that way myself. You know, where is the ship going? Why does it go? If it has all these interesting climate sections in it and all these things to do, why must it move? Just to avoid danger? But I'm sure there's many very safe planets inside the Federation where we could, recreate this multiple climate situation and have ourselves another Risa. But I digress. Why are we going to this cruise ship? It's not for fun, although fun may be involved. This is Lower Decks after all. We're going on a dangerous spy mission in our A-plot to find a Admiral Milius from Star Trek that has gone AWOL. Ooh, what's that about? Our B plot, as I've already described before, is to capture a nanite colony that is run amok and is eating metal to replicate itself. And you're not going to believe me, but I don't look at any previews of these episodes. I don't like to be spoiled. I watch them right when they come out. I'm going in completely blind, and I watch it 2 or 3 times and then review them. But earlier on the day where I first watched this episode, I was having a shower. Sometimes I do that. And I was just kind of daydreaming to myself. You know what they call it, shower thoughts. And I was wondering about nanite colonies coming alive and like leaving their hosts or what have you. In a medical context, I often wonder to myself if nanites are the future of medicine, and curing things the old-fashioned way is a fool's errand. I don't know anything about this stuff, but I do wonder this. I'm curious about these things, and I was thinking about a nanite colony and how maybe if we take nanites to fight disease or something in our body, and then they get out and they clump together and then they run away or something. I was thinking that, and then it was in this episode. I was shocked. Maybe I'm psychic and I can predict the future. I don't know. I don't have those glowing Gary Mitchell eyes. Maybe someday. We go down to this world, and in our A-plot, of course, we take Ransom, the big boys now. We're playing with the big boys now, and Boimler has to go with them. But they have their cool code names. Jack Ransom is now Zach Ransom, and Billups is now, he wants to be, Gilbert Manhandle. And interestingly, in the next scene, when the camera pans out or moves around a little bit, we see someone go by in a stretcher, which is Jet Manhaver. Was that intentional? Manhandle and Manhaver, I have no idea what that's supposed to mean, why they're so similar, but it happens. And we see that Jet has lost both of his hands. He was on a previous mission with Jack Ransom. And they're using guys like us. They're putting us in situations that are dangerous. And we're losing our limbs and whatnot, but we're getting new ones. We're growing new ones. We're in the future, after all. So now Boimler's worried about his mission to capture this Admiral Milius. I've heard that name before somewhere. It rings a bell, but I don't know what bell it's ringing. Meanwhile, our other half of this show, which equates to Mariner, Jennifer, Rutherford, Tendi, and Talin, they have to go down to this planet and capture this nanite colony. One problem, intersocial relationship drama rears its ugly head, as it did in the last episode, and as it tends to in recent Star Trek. Your opinion on this may vary from mine, but I'm not super interested in it. I don't have relationships in my own life, so I don't really understand it. You're talking to an alien here. You're trying to explain these things to someone who only mildly on the surface resembles a human. In that sense, these social interactions, they don't really make sense to me. I don't find them funny, and I find them taking up an overly long amount of episode dialogue, and I find it in this case very contrived. It can be good, but it can also be very contrived. Which camp do you think this is in? You see Jennifer, if you don't know her, she's the Andorian lady from a few episodes ago, maybe a few seasons ago. People have been wondering what's going on between her and Mariner since what feels like multiple seasons, and now we essentially know they were in a relationship, and now they're not, but apparently Jennifer didn't know that. So Jennifer did not off-screen promote herself to the role of girlfriend. I guess this is something that was occurring between seasons or what have you. And Mariner forgot. You see, Mariner quiet broke up with Jennifer, which means that I broke up with you, but you didn't know. Sounds very healthy and smart, right? Hopefully this is back from a time when Mariner was not so wise. She's very wise now, isn't she, after the experiences of Season 4? Not. But Jennifer is along for the ride too. This just got complicated. Social media status, it's complicated, which is something I feel like I can say for a lot of recent Star Trek that isn't Prodigy. Go watch the Prodigy reviews. They're great, and no one commented. How are we going to catch this nanite colony? Well, we got a little box. We got a little stick, but it's a laser stick because it's a space track. And we're going to try to put a phaser cell underneath. It wants power. It wants metal. Okay. And we're going to phaser that little power cell up. It's going to be very hot. It's very excited. It's very exotic. Yay. And the nanite colony, which we're calling Glumpus, is going to go after it. If you've seen, anything in your life, you would know that it's never a good idea to give the villain what they want. Have you ever noticed how many times this happens? This character eats junk, metal, electrical power, what have you. And somebody has the bright idea to give it what it wants. Does this ever work out? Think of how many times you've seen this. It doesn't work out here either. We give it a little bit of extra power with that cell from a phaser. It gets out of the trap because it's a lot stronger now. Imagine that. We chase it to what appears to be an empty theater with nobody in it. Thankfully, no one can get hurt here. And we have another argument between Jennifer and Mariner, which is about, hey, babe, I just wanted to give you a win here. Make a special note of that. So that you could, bolster your chances to get that promotion to the U.S.S. Manitoba, when you get transferred there. We don't get to see that ship, by the way. But I have a feeling it's a Parliament class. I don't know why. Remember, I'm psychic. This doesn't go well, and we're in our infinite wisdom, we're distracted by our social problems while the nanite colony, Glumpus, creeps up behind and absorbs power from what appears to be the projector display for this theater. And for reasons unknown, it turns into a gigantic icosahedron, which is apparently a 20-sided prism. Not unlike this. This has 20 sides. Imagine that thing, but giant, and rolling at you. pretty scary, creative, interesting. If we had to just pull it out of nowhere, I might come up with something similar just because I wanted to see it. You know me, I like funny shapes. I like the Borg cube, and I like the icosahedron. And that's what the nanite colony turns into. But that's not all it has. For some other unknown reason, this icosahedron, or the Glumpus, is able to absorb people into its interior. Spooky, scary. But this is not a Halloween episode. Although this episode aired on Halloween, we don't take advantage of it in any way, really. This episode has scary elements, but there's no costumes. We went to a cruise ship, and we're not dressing up as anything. This is Lower Decks. If there was one opportunity to have a Halloween episode, this is it. The one opportunity. The episode happened to air on Halloween. Can we get some dress up? Not really. But I was scared, like I said, of Glumpus. Would have been an interesting costume idea for you for the future. If you're one to celebrate Halloween, dress up like a 20-sided prism and make it silver, and you can be, this is my Star Trek costume. What are you? I'm Glumpus. From that one episode of Lower Decks that decidedly was not a Halloween episode. Anyway, we need to capture this Glumpus, and now we chase on it on some, what looks like a golf cart, like some type of a personal shuttle that maybe civilians use on this spacecraft. We chase after it. We're blasting it. We don't know how to stop it. Mariner and Jennifer climb up a tree, and what occurs here is exactly what occurred in the second episode of this season. Remember when we thought that Erica was pregnant, and we thought she didn't know that we knew that, but then it turns out the joke was on us, and they all knew, and we didn't know that they didn't know? I'm getting very confused here. I'm not really into this whole dialogue problem type episode, which this episode kind of is, but you see my point here. Jennifer reveals that she was just screwing around with Mariner, and she knew that Mariner broke up with her and was pretending that she didn't know to make Mariner upset, even though this seems to be jeopardizing the mission. Genius, right? I know these Starfleet officers are genius. I mean, we're only on the Cerritos, so this is, if problems are going to happen, I guess it's going to be on the Cerritos crew, which hopefully Jennifer will not be on very soon if she gets that transfer. You see, I was just messing with you, and we all knew the truth in the second episode of this season. The third episode of this season, I was just joking with you. I knew the truth all along. Ha ha ha. And it's coming out now at a not opportune moment when we could very realistically potentially die. We're just using the same writing convention twice, and it's twice as contrived now. If you didn't know beforehand, it appears that T'Lyn had her own side mission to go on, her own away mission away from us, that she was planning, or not, we don't know. T'Lyn is mysterious. To see Krog. Krog is a vibe tube musician, and it happens to be T'Lyn's favorite musician. Why is this important? The vibe tubes end up saving the day. How does this work? If we find out, I believe through communication with somebody else, that Glumpus is actually communicating with something inside it as a small chip or a small computer, and this nanite colony is controlled actually by one small device somewhere on the inside. I thought on the outside, but that doesn't turn out to be the case, and they have to get inside it. They run back to that theater where we first saw the vibe tubes and T'Lyn was distracted by them. We bring the vibe tubes into the Glumpus, and when we play the vibe tubes, the resonance, the sound from this device disrupts the connection between this computer on the inside and the outside of the Glumpus, disabling it. Your guess is as good as mine for how this works. What is a vibe tube? How is it doing this? Is it just sound? Does it give off a radio frequency? I'm not really sure. There's a lot of questions in this episode. Just like how in the second episode I was wondering about that strange shooting star that we threw an anchor at that came out of nowhere. That was Deus Ex Machina. This is Deus Ex Vibe Tube, I guess. We save the day by playing the vibe tube, T'Lyn does, and it turns out her experience with the vibe tubes is important to save the day. You know, the age-old writing convention, that kid who was really good at baseball at the start of the movie, it turns out he has to use his baseball bat to kill the villain at the very end. Haha, imagine that. Who's this written for? 5-year-olds or 55-year-olds? It's Star Trek after all. I don't know if the audience for this is as skewing young as they think it is. I had the same feeling with Prodigy, but then again, I have a sample set of one. I don't know who else in my life is watching this, so I'm basing these facts on absolutely nothing. Although I am psychic. That's a joke, of course. T'Lyn saves the day with the vibe tubes and does get to meet Krog, the musician. Krog on the rocks. He's some type of rock creature, not unlike Rock-Tack from Star Trek Prodigy. There we go, I'm mentioning Star Trek Prodigy again. And you would think there would be a joke here when T'Lyn meets Krog. Krog just says, I've been practicing Vulcan meditation to help me with my inner chill. And then T'Lyn just agrees. There's absolutely no, it is joke-free. You're thinking that this is going to kind of crescendo on a joke between T'Lyn and Krog, since Krog and the vibe tubes have been mentioned on multiple occasions before, but nothing comes of it. And we just meet this Krog, and there's no joke at all, which maybe is the joke. Maybe this is going over my head. T'Lyn is a Vulcan after all, and we always do deadpan with Vulcans. And there's no joke, which maybe is the joke, and I'm basically stupid. I don't know. What did you think? That's how we solve our nanite plot in this exotic nanite hotel. But we also have a B plot. What's going on with Boimler? What's going on with Admiral Milius? We have to capture this admiral who's gone AWOL, not unlike, what was that film? Apocalypse Now, based on the book Heart of Darkness. We have to find Admiral Milius. Where is he? Boimler, Billups, and Zach Ransom, Gilbert Manhandle, and Zoimler. I just called him Zoimler. I don't know. I can't remember what they called Boimler, what his code name was. But no, they don't get to wear those black outfits that we saw way back in TNG when we had to go on our own spy mission. Although, something is telling me we did see those outfits already in Lower Decks. Am I crazy? I don't know. First off, we have to go to a bar that apparently Admiral Milius has been at and traded something at the bar for some drinks. That's how we tracked him. Boimler has the option to go talk to these Galametes or the Kreetassans. The Galametes, you can see their brain. Captain Bode from Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Now we kind of have an idea what he looks like. They look very scary, but in Lower Decks fashion, that's just a misdirection. Lower Decks uses misdirection like I breathe air. I'm just over it now. I can just see it a mile away. I knew that the Galametes, just by looking at them, were actually very nice, because in Lower Decks you would make them look very scary. And then the opposite would be true. These Kreetassans, Boimler steps up to the plate. Maybe he bites off more than he can chew. He's trying to get a win here after all. And goes to talk to the Kreetassans instead. And the Kreetassans, of course, see eating and drinking as more intimate than mating. Okay, it's just like touching a Vulcan's finger or something. Whoa, what are you doing? Don't assault me. And they're very upset by this. And Boimler manages to flub it again. He manages to drop the ball again. Way to go, Boimler. What season is this? Season 1? Boimler, we got to be doing better here, brother. We got to step it up. We got to tighten up on a few things here. Our next target is a Denobulan lady on the ski slope, where we engage in, I don't know what to call it, skiing antics. Think about, I've already mentioned, think about feeding an enemy energy, giving it what it wants, and then that backfiring. Now think about ski slope antics, and how many times you've seen that in TV shows and in movies. There's just something funny about skiing. Am I alone in that? It's dangerous. It's silly looking. You get to wear funny clothes. I don't know. There's just something funny about it. And I don't think we've had ski slope antics in Star Trek till now. Am I wrong? I don't think we've had it. I bet you anything that Miles O'Brien and Julian Bashir were doing it in the holodeck in Deep Space Nine, but we never saw it. I bet they were doing it, but now we're doing it for real, and it's not a holodeck this time. We're in an actual biome on the, Cosmic Duchess, and real snow, real accidents, real almost killing yourself. Boimler has to go after the Denobulan target that is going to lead us to Admiral Milius. She's going to the Coward's slope and then veers off into like Expert's demise. And Boimler has no idea how to ski. It's not part of his repertoire in Starfleet training, I guess. I guess you don't teach you how to ski. I don't know how to do it. And we go over this hill, and the Denobulan is fine. Boimler is not, and Boimler goes off the cliff and falls for a frighteningly long amount of time, and I did kind of frighteningly laugh at it, at poor Boimler's expense, but he does survive. The Nobulan comes to see him and, rightly asks him, how did you survive that? I've never seen anyone survive that fall before. And he says, oh, I'm in space a lot. Starfleet's got me there a long time, and so I got thin bones that are bendable and don't really break easy because of it. My guy, we just revealed that we're Starfleet. Way to go, Boimler. The L's just keep piling up. Is there going to be another one? The Nobulan runs off to tell Admiral Milius that Starfleet is after them, and this ends up with our characters being captured by Admiral Milius. Great job. And we go to the Temple of Dread or something. It's a misdirection because this is lower decks. This is where Admiral Milius is hiding. We even repeat a scene from Apocalypse Now where Admiral Milius is seen partially in darkness, and he's rubbing lotion on his head or something. This is another misdirection. Admiral Milius is not a bad guy. He was just an admiral that was given the job of milking space whales. I'm sure there's lots of people in Starfleet that wish they had that job. People in the biology kind of sphere of Starfleet. But this admiral wanted something more. He wanted some action. And he wasn't getting it, so he went AWOL, abandoned his post, to live, I don't know, permanently on a cruise ship with what I suppose was other Starfleet officers who felt the same. I don't know for sure. And they just kind of live there and do what? I don't know. I can't go live at a restaurant. I can't live at a theme park. What am I doing? I'm just hiding? It's so big we can hide? What are we actually doing here? We're leaving Starfleet to hide somewhere. They're going to find us. What was the point of this? And it seems to be centered around the idea that we want to do what we want to do, and we're not going to listen to Starfleet, which means these characters probably have no reason to listen to Admiral Milius. But they seem to be, because he's kind of the de facto ruler here. I don't know. Why are they respecting the chain of command, since Admiral Milius is an admiral? Why would they be doing that if they've already abandoned their post? They've abandoned Starfleet. Why are they bothering? The whole thing is just a myriad of questions that go unanswered. If you're the type of person that worries about the little logical details, this might not be for you. But this is lower decks, and the rule of funny takes precedence here. Is it funny? Do it. Is it not funny? Don't do it. Worry about the questions later. Maybe the fans will figure out something else on their own. I don't know. But again, this is a little bit much for me. Admiral Milius, turns out, he just wants to be left alone. He doesn't want Starfleet to find me, because Starfleet is giving me boring missions. Our characters in Jack Ransom and Gilbert Manhandle, otherwise known as Billups, basically explained to Boimler that we weren't trying to, use you. We weren't abusing you. We weren't giving you something that was hard to do because we didn't want to do it. We were trying to give you a win here. Exactly like how Mariner was trying to give Jennifer a win so she would more likely succeed in her transfer to the U.S.S. Manitoba. That's how these stories link up, by a single hair. Thematically, I don't know how these link up. Plot-wise, they just barely link up. And the only thing we got here is just a one-off line about trying to give the other person a win. We're giving Boimler a win. We're giving him some hard things to do that we know he can do so that he looks better to improve his chances of promotion. This is Starfleet. What did you think was going on? We're not that dumb, unless we're a Mariner not knowing that Jennifer had already broken up with her, but then not knowing that Jennifer knew that, and then we're going to find out at an inopportune moment where we might die. I digress once again. Boimler manages to slip out of their manhandle, as it were, by oiling himself up with some lotion, and then he's so wiry and thin, I can't get a hold of him. The characteristics of your person are outweighed by the characteristics of your body, you see. Strange lesson to teach. Boimler, time and time again, loses in this episode by taking the first step forward and pushing himself to do the hard thing, unbeknownst to him. He fails doing it, but then wins because he's thin and wiry at the end. What is this saying? Do you want to teach this lesson? Are we teaching lessons? This is just an irreverent show after all. Maybe it doesn't have to mean anything, and I'm just barking up the wrong tree. But Boimler saves the day, incidentally, because he's thin and hard to catch. And his superiors really were just trying to give him a win. And every time he stuck his foot out and tried to go the extra mile, he just got punished for it. So I don't know what we're learning here. Should we be learning anything in that Boimler has been around for 5 seasons now and should know better? I guess going back to square one, going back to status quo, despite what the Piffs may say, is common practice for lower decks, and admittedly it's wearing thin with Boimler, with Mariner, with Tendi, with Rutherford, all to varying degrees. We escaped from Admiral Milius' clutches, having captured Admiral Milius in the process. Our nanite colony, in reality, and this is so to nowhere that I couldn't help but laugh, the nanite colony, the Glumpus, was actually a field around a very, very tiny Intrepid-class ship from another dimension, where I guess everything is smaller. What? Could you have predicted that? That was out of nowhere. They've been stuck in there for a month. It's been a month of hell. And then our characters look at each other, a month? We're thinking year of hell, of course, if you've seen Voyager. So there's tiny, tiny, tiny little Voyager, but it's called the Endeavor. Surprise, surprise. And it's a little Intrepid class stuck in there, exactly like our Intrepid class, but tiny. And I guess they come from a universe everything's much smaller than ours. I'm not sure. It didn't appear to be a mirror universe or an alternate timeline. It was just another dimension of sorts. Or universe. I don't know, take your pick. Admiral Milius wanted some adventure. Now he's getting it. His job now is to send them home somehow. Is he going to figure it out? That's the question. He's asking himself a question and giving himself a challenge, which is what he always wanted. What he did not want was a court-martial. He didn't get it. Abandoning your post in Starfleet? That's not a good idea. If you abandon your post, you're leaving that area vacant. That's dangerous for enemies to seize upon. Okay? Did Admiral Milius accidentally reveal any information to anybody? Did he sell any secrets? What was he doing to survive on this ship? I don't know. Leaving your post is no laughing matter. It's not a joke. Maybe Starfleet really thought saving the U.S.S. Endeavor was impossible, so gave him an impossible task as his punishment. Other than that, it's a little bit weird how he gets away with this. Like I said before, your mileage may vary. Are you worried about Admiral Milius? Are you worried about there being no consequences for going AWOL? Maybe I am. Maybe I'm alone in that. And maybe this is Lower Decks. That's the plot of Lower Decks, Season 5, Episode 3, The Best Exotic Nanite Hotel. Jennifer does appear to get her transfer to the U.S.S. Manitoba, and all is well with the world. Or all is well with the space, the known space, I don't know. We're not just on a world. And we fly away into the, I want to say sunset, with the U.S.S. Cerrito. And we leave behind the Cosmic Duchess, and that was the adventure in this episode. But what was it really about? Thematically, like I said before, these plots are connected by a hair. We're trying to give people a win here, and it turns out Admiral Milius can help us get the U.S.S. Endeavor back home. T'Lyn saves the day by playing an instrument, and Boimler is able to save the day because he can put lotion on himself and slip out of someone's grasp. What does this mean? It's irreverent, but it's not irreverent to the point where it's funny. Like, you're supposed to kind of play into that. This is trying to play in both fields at the same time, and I don't think it's succeeding in either. It doesn't mean anything, and it's not so meaningless that it's funny. It's in the middle, which means it's going into another pile of Lower Decks episodes that don't really feel like they're about anything or they're necessary to watch. Unfortunately, this one's probably going to end up being a skip in the long scheme of things. One interesting aspect is that we got to run away from that icosahedron, and for other interesting aspects, it just basically comes up nil. Who made this nanite colony? That could be a much more interesting story. Maybe it'll come up later. Maybe somehow this episode ties into the overarching plot of this season. That would be cool. If instead of having an overarching plot where every episode obviously connects into it, have them connect in a novel and interesting way that we couldn't predict at the end. I don't know. I can't exactly see what they're going to do here. Maybe I'm not psychic after all if I can't tell how this season's going to work out. Musically, another deaf episode. I couldn't hear anything going on. Intro themes, of course, very good, and any theme that adapts that into a different melody, like a motif to use somewhere else, is going to be good. But other than that, in the original tracks category, I didn't really hear anything. Visually speaking, it was interesting being on this ship, but be honest, it's not much that we couldn't be experiencing on Ryza, outside of, I think, that ski slope. Did they have that on Ryza? I don't remember. We've been on vacations before, and this one's just another one to add to the pile. Just by virtue of being lower decks and being animated in the way it is, we do get a more punchy, high contrast, colorful image that I would be lying if I said wasn't capturing my mental and visual interest for this entire episode. So visually, par for the course, but the par for the course for lower decks is actually pretty good. Plot-wise, like I said before, misdirection abound. Why are we worrying about the relationship between Mariner and Jennifer when we're about to die? I don't know. We drag it on too long. It's very contrived, this whole plot. Those things you thought were bad guys were good guys. Happens every time. Can you predict it at this point? Thematically, as I had mentioned before, because it's such an important thing in my mind, the themes and the morals and the questions that we ask, I just don't know what we're getting here. I don't know what the big picture is. It's just more strange sci-fi plot that kind of means nothing. Par for the course. But in that way, it's actually not a good thing when Lower Decks does it. For all these reasons, I'm going to have to go ahead and give this episode another 4 out of 10. Just as I gave the last 2 episodes. This is just another kind of a miss. You know, I'm probably not going to watch this one again. It's in the no pile as far as episodes go. And that was the best exotic nanite hotel. And I'll see you for the 4th episode of this final season of Lower Decks. I'm Lieutenant Mark, and I'm going to see you the next time I see you. So long.